was the night before Christmas Eve, and I had just wrapped up my shift at work. The clock struck 10 p.m., and although I was exhausted, a wave of excitement washed over me. 3 glorious weeks of holiday break awaited, and I couldn't wait to dive into the festivities. The drive home was supposed to be just like any other night, a quiet, uneventful journey through familiar streets. But as I settled into the rhythm of the drive, something felt off. As I navigated through the dimly lit roads, I noticed a car behind me that seemed to be following a little too closely. At first, I brushed it off as a coincidence, but a chill ran down my spine when I caught sight of a glint of metal, a gun. It was unmistakable, and it looked like they were preparing to shoot. My heart raced, and adrenaline kicked in. I pressed harder on the gas pedal, hoping to lose them by making sharp turns onto different streets. But no matter where I went, the car stayed on my tail, confirming that this was no figment of my imagination. I needed to call for help, but my phone was inconveniently stashed in my bag on the back seat. With my mind racing, I made a split-second decision to stop briefly and grab my phone. It was a risky move, but I knew I couldn't outrun them at the speed they were following me. As I came to a halt, I quickly reached for my phone, bracing myself for the worst. To my astonishment, the car that had been pursuing me suddenly sped off into the night. Confused and shaken, I managed to jot down their license plate number. Just as I was about to dial the police, my phone buzzed with an incoming call from an unknown number, followed by a text message that simply said, "Answer the phone." Despite my apprehension, I answered. "Hello," I said, my voice barely steady. A man with a deep, unsettling voice responded. "Hi, I want to apologize for the scare my friends just gave you. It seems we were given the wrong information. We aren't out to get you. It was a mistake. Please don't speak about this to anyone. We know where you live and your family's information. Have a nice day." Before I could process what was happening or ask any questions, the call abruptly ended, and my phone displayed "Call failed." I tried calling back, but the number was no longer in service. When I finally reached home, I recounted the entire ordeal to my parents. They listened intently, their faces a mix of concern and fear. They advised me to keep quiet about it, fearing the potential danger of getting involved in whatever mess these people were tangled in. Reluctantly, I agreed and decided to let it be, though the experience haunted me. Curiosity gnawed at me, and I attempted to trace the mysterious phone number using various paid websites, but each search came back blank, as if the number never existed. It was as if the whole incident was a ghostly encounter, leaving no trace behind. A couple of weeks after that unsettling night, I was at work when my phone buzzed with a call from my mom. Her voice was urgent as she told me to look up the news. Confused, I asked her why, and she simply said, "It's about what happened to you." With a sense of dread creeping in, I quickly searched for the latest news. My heart sank as I read the headline, "Someone had been gunned down while driving." The article detailed that the perpetrators had fled on foot, leaving their car crashed not far from the crime scene. I called my mom back, trying to convince myself that it was just a coincidence. "Mom, that could be something completely unrelated," I said, hoping to dismiss the eerie connection. But she interrupted gently. "No, look at this," and sent me a link to another article. As I opened it, my stomach twisted. The article mentioned the license plate and color of the car, urging anyone with information to contact the police. My heart dropped. It was the same license plate and color as the car that had followed me that night. The realization hit me like a tidal wave, leaving me breathless. I asked my mom if I should report what I knew, torn between the fear of getting involved and the responsibility of potentially helping solve a crime. She said, "It's up to you. I support your decision, whatever it is." After a lot of soul-searching, I decided to stay silent. The fear of entangling myself in something dangerous was too overwhelming. I didn't want to risk my safety or my family's, even though a part of me felt guilty for not coming forward. The decision weighed heavily on me, a constant reminder of the thin line between safety and danger. I hoped that the authorities would find the answers they needed without my involvement. But the memory of that night and the subsequent news lingered, a haunting echo of what could have been. Years have passed since that terrifying night, and thankfully, I haven't been bothered since. It seems they truly meant what they said about leaving me alone. But the memory of that night lingers, a chilling reminder of how quickly life can veer into the unexpected. Every now and then, especially during the holidays, I find myself glancing over my shoulder, just to be sure. This story happened on Christmas morning 2 years ago, a day that started with the magic of the season, but quickly turned into something far more frightening. It was 7 a.m., and I was just 7 years old. I awoke to the sound of rustling and soft thuds coming from downstairs. Still groggy from sleep, I slipped out of bed, not yet remembering it was Christmas morning. As I descended the stairs, the familiar sight of the twinkling Christmas tree came into view, but something else caught my eye. A tall, shadowy figure standing near the tree. In my innocent naivety, I blurted out, "Are you Santa?" The man turned to face me, a smirk playing on his lips. "Yes," he replied, his voice low and unfamiliar. Confused, I asked, "Then why are you wearing all black?" Before he could respond, my dad appeared, rushing past me with a look of fierce determination. He tackled the man, and they both tumbled to the floor. At the time, I didn't understand what was happening, but now it's clear that the man had broken into our home and was attempting to steal our gifts. The commotion woke the entire household. My mom hurried down the stairs, her face a mix of fear and resolve as she moved to help my dad. The intruder was much larger than my father, and the struggle was intense. In the chaos, the man lashed out, striking my mom and knocking her unconscious. I stood frozen, tears streaming down my face as fear gripped me. My older brother and sister, who had been watching in shock, sprang into action. They joined my dad, and together, they managed to pin the man to the ground. Even our loyal dog joined the fray, sinking his teeth into the intruder's leg with a fierce growl. The scene was chaotic, but eventually, the man was subdued, lying motionless on the floor. My dad, brother, and sister kept him restrained until the police arrived. The flashing lights of the patrol cars illuminated the living room, casting eerie shadows over the remnants of our disrupted Christmas morning. The police took the man away, and we were left to process the terrifying ordeal. My mom and dad were taken to the hospital to treat their injuries, leaving us kids to huddle together, trying to make sense of what had happened. In the days that followed, our home was equipped with security cameras, a precaution that brought some peace of mind. The experience left a lasting impression on me, a stark reminder of how quickly the warmth of a holiday morning could turn into a nightmare. Though it was a frightening experience at such a young age, I am grateful that my family was able to come together and protect each other. The man learned his lesson, and our family emerged stronger and more united than ever. Christmas has never quite been the same, but it has taught me the true value of family and the importance of being prepared for anything. This story happened on Christmas Eve. After a long day at work, I was eager to get to my girlfriend's house to join her family for their Christmas Eve festivities. It was already around 10 p.m., and I was running late. The plan was to arrive by 11, so I hopped into my car, determined to make the hour-long drive as quickly as possible. The roads were mostly empty, the streetlights casting a soft glow on the pavement as I sped along. My mind was focused on the evening ahead, opening presents, enjoying good food, and spending time with people I cared about. But halfway there, a soft chime interrupted my thoughts. The gas gauge was perilously close to E, and I knew I had to make a stop. Reluctantly, I pulled into a small, dimly lit gas station that looked like it hadn't seen much business in years. The flickering neon sign and the eerie silence gave it a sketchy vibe, but I didn't have much choice. I got out of the car and started filling up the tank, glancing around uneasily. Once the tank was full, I decided to check if the station's convenience store was open. Unfortunately, it was closed, and I realized I desperately needed to use the restroom. With no other option, I headed to the back of the building to relieve myself. Just as I was finishing up, I heard the unmistakable sound of an engine starting. My heart dropped as I quickly realized it was my car. Panic surged through me as I remembered leaving the keys in the ignition. I zipped up and sprinted back to the front, my mind racing. There, behind the wheel of my car, was an old woman who looked disheveled and possibly homeless. Her laughter echoed through the night as she sat in the driver's seat, revving the engine while the car remained in park. She seemed oblivious to the chaos she was causing. Fueled by a mix of anger and urgency, I yanked open the door and pulled her out of the car, unceremoniously dropping her onto the ground. I felt a pang of guilt, but the frustration of being late, having to pee outside, and now this bizarre encounter overpowered my sense of politeness. As I climbed back into my car and slammed the door shut, the woman's demeanor shifted. Her laughter turned to rage, and she began hitting my car with the gas station's window wash squeegee. I didn't stick around to see what would happen next. I floored the gas pedal and sped away, my heart pounding in my chest. The rest of the drive was a blur, my mind replaying the surreal events at the gas station. I considered calling the police, but decided against it. All I wanted was to reach my girlfriend's house and put the strange encounter behind me. When I finally arrived, the warmth and cheer of the Christmas celebration quickly enveloped me, but the experience lingered in the back of my mind. It was one of the weirdest and scariest experiences I'd ever had, a reminder that the unexpected can happen at any moment, even on a night meant for peace and joy.